Welcome to Next Chapter Strong. From deadlifts to date nights and everything in between.
We're just a midlife couple sharing what's working for us.
In strength, marriage, and showing up for this exciting next chapter in life. Welcome back to Next Chapter Strong. Hope you enjoyed our last podcast where we talked about a couple of midlife things, dropping our kids off at college and just kind of what it's like the first couple of weeks in the empty nest. Hope that resonated with a few of you. We're back again today, and we're going to talk a little bit about fitness and strength training and working out. Again, kind of in that 40 to 50s range. And I'm here with the beautiful, talented, energetic Angie Harper.
Thank you so
Not
much.
Angela this time.
And it's dress down day because this is exactly what I look like most days.
Got the workout
Only
gear
I
on.
did comb my hair.
Yes, which is always helpful.
Always helpful. So yeah, I'm excited. I think, we're kind of at a point in our life right now where people are starting to ask questions, right? I've always over the years been asked, can you ask your husband this for my mainly son, because we're the parents of sons, and how my son can, get bigger, stronger, faster. And so over the years, you've been kind enough to do a lot of, Zoom trainings and calls for me and for my, followers. So I just kind of thought it'd be cool for you to share your story of how you got started in powerlifting, namely, and then how that's kind of translated to life, in your 40s and now almost 50, because I am 50, but you're not yet.
I'm not. I'm younger.
Baby.
Yes.
I'm a cradle robber.
Yes, you are. How dare you? No, yeah, I'm excited to talk about this because strength has been a passion of mine for, as long as I can remember. And the earliest roots I can trace it back to is watching The Incredible Hulk on TV in the late 70s and early 80s.
Really?
Yes, Lou Ferrigno,
Yeah,
as mild-mannered David Banner turns into the Hulk. That was awesome. Very, very inspiring for me. And then He-Man and the Masters of the Universe came out in 82, 83. I was a huge He-Man fan, Skeletor, Beastman, all those guys.
What about the Hulk?
Had Castle Grayskull. So that's always just been, I've always been drawn to strength and to, the physical prowess that comes with it. So when I got into high school, I remember right before freshman year, I started lifting weights. That was like the summer in between 8th grade and my freshman year. And I never stopped. It started there. Well, other than when we talked about in previous episodes where I took some time off when we were raising the kids.
Yeah.
But it's just always been something that has fascinated me. I remember what got me into powerlifting was when I was actually going through the supermarket with my mom. We're going food shopping. Shocking. She had 2 teenage boys and a teenage daughter, so she spent a lot of money on food.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw Iron Man magazine, which was, it's been around for, I don't know if it's still around anymore. I doubt it's in print. But at the time, it wasn't like the premier bodybuilding magazine. It was a little bit less well known. But on the cover, instead of having a bodybuilder on there, they had a powerlifter, a guy named Ted Arcidi. And Ted was the first man to bench press 700 pounds in competition.
Can you explain real quick? Because a lot of people think bodybuilding and powerlifting are kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
They're totally
Much different, yes.
Yeah.
So bodybuilding is an art as much as it is a sport.
For sure.
So it's taking the human physique to the utmost levels of development. And that's a combination of muscle mass and, the shape of the muscle belly. There's a lot of genetics that goes into it. The symmetry that's involved. It's presenting the human body as art on stage and being judged, right? I think it's cool, but that was never what I was drawn to. I was always drawn to the strength side. I'm not much of a spray tan bikini guy. But the guys that do it, more power to you. It's pretty awesome.
We have a good friend, Jesse Dale. Shout out to Jesse.
Absolutely.
He's incredible.
And the amount of dedication it takes to do that is
crazy,
unbelievable.
Insane.
I love the size, right? I was always drawn to size, but I was much more into the strength side of things. So seeing this guy on the cover, that was the first time I'd ever seen, and Ted Arcidi back in the day was, absolutely massive human being. You can imagine this amount of size you have to bench press 700 pounds. And I was like, that's cool. I remember I got the magazine, I read it cover to cover, but I was most interested in what he was doing because it was different from anything else that was out there.
So powerlifting is squatting, deadlifting.
The actual sport itself is the squat, the bench, and the deadlift.
That's it, those three.
Those three. You get 3 attempts at each lift. And at the end of the day, the person with the highest total, so your best squat, your best bench, your best deadlift, is the winner.
Can I brag on you for a second? What's your PR total?
Well, that was a long time
ago, but what was it?
2,050 pounds.
2,050 pounds combined, all three. I don't really know what that means, but I'm assuming it's pretty awesome.
It was okay back in the day. It's nothing now. I'm certainly not going to brag about it.
Okay, so let's talk about powerlifting now that you're knocking on the door of 50. How has your body changed? How has your training changed?
So training is always evolving. It has to, because your body is designed to adapt to things. So if you're still training the same way that you were when you're 18 years old, you're probably not going to have a lot of success, because your body will have adapted to that. So you gotta constantly change things up, but not so much that your training doesn't look familiar to what it looked like the year before. So I still follow the same basic program that I've been following for 20 years. I was heavily influenced by Louis Simmons and his concepts and what Westside Barbell was doing. To this day, I'm still heavily influenced by that. I've taken those concepts and I have modified them based on where I am in life. You know me, I don't like to use the word old. Myself and Clint Eastwood have adopted the philosophy of don't let the old man in.
Oh, I love that song.
Got that from Clint.
Don't let the old man
Don't let the old man in, right? He's 94, he still gets up every day and makes movies, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't acknowledge age as being a limiting factor. And ever since I read about that, I've tried to adopt that. But age does force you to change things. So I don't work out 4 days a week anymore. I used to do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I found in my mid 40s, about 42, 43, I couldn't recover from that anymore. So I changed it. I still have 4 training days, but it's spread out over 10 days instead of 7. So I do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday. Those are my 4 training days over 10 days. That definitely helps with recovery. I still train the same way I did 20 years ago in terms of it's still all about strength. It's still all about becoming as strong as I can, with a focus now on maintaining that strength as late into life as possible. So if you know anything about Louis, if you know anything about powerlifting, my workouts still revolve around maximum effort work, which is literally working up to 1 rep max in a particular kind of lift. And then also dynamic work or speed training, which is working on the ability to develop force as quickly as possible. And it uses lighter weights. And then a lot of assistance work built around bodybuilding style principles to help bring up weak areas. But I still do that just like I did when I was in my 20s.
Right. And I love that you say like your goal is to be able to get down on the floor with our future grandchildren and get back up, right?
Well, hopefully a lot more than that. But yeah, I mean, my goal is, I want to maintain as much connective tissue strength, bone density, and muscle mass as late into life as possible.
Well, and we've talked about you and training our boys and their friends, but we haven't really touched on your favorite client and who you train.
My favorite client is also my most difficult client.
Who would that be?
That would be you.
Guilty.
Yes. It's a little bit different from training the boys.
So can I just tell my background real quick? So I've always been an athlete, not so much a weightlifter, definitely not a power lifter, but I've been an athlete my whole life, right? I played softball, volleyball, a little bit of basketball. So I've always been active. I've always worked out. But weightlifting really, it scared me because I didn't understand it. I didn't know what to do. I always thought, I don't want to be big and bulky, right? And so finally, I had a shoulder injury that kind of, made it difficult for me to work out for years. Got that figured out, thank God, and was able to start lifting again. And that's really when my weight loss journey began. I've lost 25 pounds here at the age of 50, which I think is pretty remarkable. Ladies, as we age, the scale just stops moving, right? Especially in the tummy area. And so I figured that out. And it's been, and thanks to you too for really not staying on me, but for always encouraging me and guiding me in your way, which is not at all like, it's not, you don't put me off at all, right? You encourage me, and I love that. But at the same time, I spent years ignoring you and your advice. I thought...
Anybody else have that same experience with their wife or significant other?
I thought I knew more than you. No, I'm kidding. No, but I thought, eating less would make me lose weight. And I know a lot of women out there feel that, right? That's the craze of all the injections right now in the weight loss industry is eating less, because the injections make you not want to eat. And so I thought, well, that's great, right? I spent so many years skipping breakfast, having a shake or a bar for lunch and a salad for dinner, thinking that I was going to lose weight because I wasn't eating. Now, flip that around. I wake up in the morning, I dream at night, really, about what my day of eating is going to look like the next day. I do. And I'm like, okay. And thank God I have this incredible new app that, hopefully we'll talk about next episode, but it does it all for me. I have never in my life been a macro counter. I'm like, that is way too confusing. I don't have time to do it. This app has changed my life. And so once I really started understanding what my body needed to fuel itself, which carbs are included in that, right? Remember my keto phase?
Should be.
Remember my keto phase when
Yes.
I thought I was going to die? Like I felt like crap. Don't ever let me do that again. I won't. Okay. But I've learned carb cycling. I've learned, intermittent fasting does have a place, in a woman's diet. I've learned about counting macros. I've learned through you about lifting weights in a progressive overload, which I think a lot of women go to the gym. They pick up some 12 or 15 pound dumbbells. They do some bicep curls, do maybe some squats, and they think they lifted weights, right? And that's not the case.
No, you have to. There's working out, which is what you're describing. You go to the gym, you do your machines, do your 3 sets of 10, each thing in your little circuit, and you go home. And you do that every time you go to the gym. And you break a sweat, and you probably feel good for a little bit, but you're not going to ever make any progress doing that. So, yes, you have to constantly be challenging yourself. So you have to constantly be trying to add a little bit more weight or that one extra rep, right? Something that is increasing the intensity of the workout every time you go in there. That's how you make progress. It's not linear. These things don't just constantly go up. It's more like the stock market, right? Over the long term, yes, the course is positive, but there's going to be a lot of hills and valleys and a lot of learning moments along the way. But ultimately, that's what you have to do.
And the most important part is consistency, right? And making it a part of your lifestyle. Like when I stopped saying, I'm going to do this challenge, or I'm going to do this cleanse, or, I joined, like how many gyms have I belonged to over the years? Like I can't even count. And once I made I flipped the switch inside my brain and I said, this is no longer a diet. This is just my lifestyle. This is how it's going to be. And it's incredible. And I'm definitely an 80-20, right? I don't limit myself. I eat sourdough bread practically every day. I still drink alcohol occasionally, not as much as we did during COVID for sure. but I've learned to make those tweaks and adjustments, and I've learned to create a lifestyle that fits me and it fits our lifestyle as well. And so I'm excited to start talking more about that and sharing with women what I know and what I've learned. I mean, I run a weight loss group with over 20,000 people in it on Facebook. We launched an all-natural GLP-1 weight loss system, and a lot of people failed at it. A lot of people did. And I fault myself and the other, leaders in that group for not coaching people and not setting the right expectations up front. That number one, it's not a magic pill. Number two, it's not going to happen overnight. And number three, it's not going to happen without lifestyle changes, and that's diet and exercise. So I think, I'm ready to circle back and to kind of reframe that story and to help more women.
And you left out one critical component, though, which is sleep.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Regardless of age, but especially as you get, I'm going to say, more experienced in life, in place of saying older, the sleep is critical. And, I got 2 friends coming over tomorrow night, actually, to the house because they want to start training, right? Mm-hmm. They got some strength goals. And so I'll be having a conversation with them. But for everybody, especially as you're getting older, I just said older again. You have to really prioritize the consistency, and you have to understand that the training is the stimulus, right? When you're actually training, you're not growing muscle tissue. You're not increasing bone density. What you're doing is you're providing the stimulus that your body then has to adapt to. Mm-hmm. Where your body can only adapt to that if you have enough of the raw material, i.e. the nutrients from your food that you're eating, and then enough sleep. That is when your body recovers and repairs itself. So each of those things is equally important.
Yeah.
And all of that has to be in place before you try to add anything else, any supplement or any, peptide or TRT or whatever. There's so many things out there that people jump to first without having the foundational elements in place. Yeah. So don't even bother with that if you don't have the big 3 of the training, the diet, and the sleep
Yeah.
prioritized and established. It has to be a habit, it has to be a lifestyle.
Yeah. And I'm actually going to have my functional doctor on as a guest in a future episode to talk a little bit more in depth about that, because we're not medical professionals. We're not going to give any medical advice whatsoever. We're going to say what's worked for us. And currently, I'm obviously in perimenopause at the age of 50, and I'd say I'm crushing it. Would you?
I would say you're handling
I
it
don't
very
take
well.
anything, and I'm doing great. So, there is definitely a way, but like you said, you have to make those changes first.
You do. And you have to also pay a little bit more attention to the recovery aspect. So your training frequency is probably going to go down, which I explained earlier. And your things, you don't really even think about this stuff when you're younger, but your mobility is key. So I spend probably, at least for my lower body type workouts, I spend a half an hour warming up before I even touch a barbell, just doing mobility work, right? It's working on the joints, making sure the range of motion is there. I've dealt with a hip impingement issue for years that's finally, now that I'm taking mobility seriously and doing it consistently every time, has really helped resolve most of those issues. And there's a ton of information out there, on this stuff.
Yeah. So we'll probably talk about it again on future episodes.
Because we could definitely get much deeper into that.
Awesome.
But that's a key component to your longevity as well.
So thanks for joining us today, everybody. We're super excited to delve more into midlife fitness as we are empty nesters, and really for the first time in a long time, putting ourselves and our health goals first. And I know many of you out there can probably relate to that. So do us a favor, go over and follow us on Instagram at Next Chapter Strong, and we look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thanks for listening to Next Chapter Strong.
If this hit home, please share it, leave a quick review, and follow us on Instagram at Next Chapter Strong.
And most importantly, keep showing up strong for what matters most in your life.